The following portion of Daytime Tri-Cities is sponsored by Johnson City, Greene County, and Mountain Kubota. When you're ready to work, we're ready to work. Well, we are just outside of Greeneville for this month's Fields and Farms tour. And get this, the name of this farm, Field and Flower. That's flower, F-L-O-U-R. It is a sweet family with a very sweet story. A story about things that smell good and taste good. Come on, you're gonna love it. Josh and Sarah are living their dream together with their daughter. A 1960s farmhouse that sits on a few beautiful acres of land. A stark contrast to their previous life in big city Seattle. They wanted to slow things down. They were ready for a life-altering change. Josh remembers a conversation he had with his grandfather about finding the joy in life.
One day we were at a plant conservatory, and after months of exhaustive work, I suddenly felt really at peace. We were just walking around and I felt so good. And it was a moment of epiphany, and I thought, this is it. This is what he was talking about. This is what it feels like to be moved by something.
And from that point on, everything started to fit into place. They sold their house, packed their vehicle, and moved across the country, closer to family and closer to finding the joy.
We decided that we wanted to restructure our lives to bring more joy and more beauty into the world. And so we started with Field and Flower. So we're a very small flower farm that's densely planted, so we crank out a lot, and then we're a custom home-based bakery.
Josh works the dirt and Sarah works the dough, a recipe that's worked out even better than expected.
Josh is amazing about working out in the field. I am, to be honest, not a great field worker. I'm a delicate flower. I don't like the heat. I don't like early mornings.
We really are the two pieces of the puzzle that make this work. Sarah handles all of the baking. She also does all of the marketing, almost all of the public relations. I'm kind of a solitary guy on the other hand, and so I get to spend my time out, just working in the fields and listening to the sounds around me.
Today is Harvest Day. Most of these beautiful flowers will be delivered and sold to area florists. They also do a subscription service.
And what was amazing about having one every week is that you can see the transition from seasons to seasons, right? You can see the early peonies and ranunculus come in May or June, and then as the season changes and the weather changes, there are zinnias, there are sunflowers, there are dahlias, the color palette changes, and so there's this whole concept of seasonality that we could see.
And along with that beautiful, fragrant bouquet, a mouth-watering baked good. Remember, it's Field and Flower, F-L-O-U-R.
I love baking, and I really love being able to get that satisfaction from people who come back and say, that was the best chocolate cake I've ever tasted.
And speaking of tasted, we just happened to visit on a day when Sarah had a few cookies to make and bake, just out of the oven with an ice-cold glass of milk. Yes, please.
Is that like salt?
Mm-hmm. It's flaky salt.
Flaky
It's
salt?
fleur de sel.
On the top of your chocolate chip cookie?
Yeah. It's fancy.
Okay, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
1, 2. Oh my gosh. What is your secret?
So many.
She's not going to share. But she will share the cookies.
And we'll share the cookies.
A sweet assignment indeed. In fact, I volunteered to be a sampler anytime she needs a little assistance, and I'm not alone.
It's exceptionally hard not to sample, and in fact it's impossible, so I do sample a lot. Luckily, I've got the fields to keep me breathing hard and in shape every morning. If it wasn't for that, you'd be looking at a very different man.
And the fields keep him busy, like busy as a bee busy. But first come the apples.
And so we've planted all of these different kinds of apples and then realized, you know what? Like, apples are really dependent on pollination to get fruit. So this spring, kind of earlier than anticipated, we got our first hive of bees. And just a few weeks ago, we pulled our first couple of frames of honey out. And so we just harvested our first honey. The apple trees will be a little later.
But we put in 32 young trees. And so now we're just waiting, we're taking care of them. We're pruning and picking the bugs off and doing all the little things we have to do so that in a few more years here we'll have hopefully buckets and buckets of apples.
Learning how to grow and harvest apples, how to make cider, and how to be beekeepers.
We are baby beekeepers. We are just, our suits are still pretty light and starchy. So they haven't got that tannin and like resin looking yet. It looks like it's very obvious if you drive by that we are very new at beekeeping.
Yet another joyful adventure for this family, and they say they wouldn't have it any other way.
That sense of well-being is exactly what I'd hoped for, what I'd anticipated, and what we've really worked to accomplish.
Wonderful place, neat story, and we have some exciting news. Sarah tells us that they are expanding the next subscription round to the Kingsport area. It is a 6-week subscription of weekly bouquets and a box of different treats each week. For more information on that and other products and services, you can check out their website at fieldandflower.com, or you can visit them on Facebook. That new subscription begins August 19th.